every child has, we all have all these elements: courage, discipline, focus, willpower. We have all that. They're just like muscles. We need to exercise them.
Mhm.
The more we exercise them, the stronger they get. And when you quit, the haters win. When you quit, the people that doubted you, they win. When you quit, you give up on yourself. Just
Mhm.
keep the faith, faith, fully anticipate it to happen.
Real Talk with Star Scorpio, episode 101. I first heard his name on a YouTube channel when Michael Jai White said, the most exciting fighter in the ring. Then I heard Joe Rogan say he's a hell of a fighter. That caught my attention. They were talking about the Golden Boy, Jerry Trimble. When I found out he was in one of my favorite movies, Heat, I had to run it back like, wait, that was Jerry? Not only is he one of the hardest, fastest kickers in the world, his highlight reel is unreal. Fights, films, inspiration. Jerry Trimble, welcome to Real Talk with Star Scorpio. How you doing today?
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's gonna be
Yes.
fun, man.
Yes. Okay.
Finally.
Yes,
Yeah.
finally, Jerry. Finally. Okay, so Jay, listen, I'd like to build a timeline with the podcast. So we go in chronological order with your life, and I want you to share your story. But I first have to ask you right off the bat. Earned respect from legends like Michael Jai White, Joe Rogan, and many more. What does it mean to you to get that kind of recognition?
I am I'm grateful and I'm humbled. I have to step back at times, and there's still that side of me that, that was bullied back in the day. That's still I mean, that slight insecurity that goes, wow, really? Really? Do I deserve this? When Joe Rogan said it with John Hackleman, I was floored. And then Michael Jai White, well, I broke down, man. I was like, oh my God, so yeah, I'm extremely humbled. I'm humbled. I'm honored, for legends like that to be talking about me like that. And sometimes I got to pinch myself, just like I did when I was on Eat.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
Oh, we got to get
yeah,
into
man.
that. But one
Yeah.
thing, so you seem like a humble guy. So I want to know, do you understand your status? Like you're legendary when it comes in the ring, and I'm gonna ask you about some fights. But I kind of like that how you hear your names from these people, and it still affects you in your heart. You know what I mean? I kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to believe coming from where I came from and what I experienced in my life. It's really hard to believe, and yeah, yeah, I mean, it's still, people sending me the reel going, did you see this? I'm like, yeah, man, yeah, yeah. I'm honored, and I am so grateful for those guys. I love
Yeah.
Joe Rogan. I love Michael Jai White. Yeah, I love them
Nice.
both, man. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Jerry, we got to know, where were you born and raised?
Newport, Kentucky. I was born in Newport, Kentucky. Or actually, I was born in Dayton, Kentucky. But yeah, that's the hospital I was born. But Newport, Kentucky, that's where I was raised. Yeah,
Mhm. And
yeah, yeah.
and how was your childhood like? One thing I like getting into because I like to see how our personalities and things like that are molded and shaped. Were your parents strict? Did you have any siblings? How was that home life for you?
Uh, the home life, I have one brother who's passed. He's actually,
Mhm.
his ashes are in here.
Oh,
Rest,
sorry to
brother.
hear
Yeah.
that. Rest in peace.
And I had two sisters. Mom and dad, we moved a lot. We moved around town a lot, which was interesting. We traveled lit in a small town. We lived here for about 5 years. Then we move about a mile and a half, 5 years, and we would move constantly. I
Mhm.
don't know why we ever did that, but we moved, and there was a lot of turmoil with my brother and sisters and I. We argued a lot, sibling stuff. And yeah, it was an interesting time. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I had a lot of cousins. My grandmother had 13 kids.
Oh.
Yeah, she had 13 kids. She was busy. Yetta. Her name was Yetta.
Hmm.
That's a Jewish name for you, Yetta.
Hmm.
She was a wonderful woman. She had 13 kids and a lot of cousins. I had a lot of cousins, and those are my best friends, my cousins growing up. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're, I have, my family's huge,
Yeah.
but what I noticed, I was only close to one set of cousins, and no, that happened to be on my mom's side,
Okay.
because they were here in Canada. My mom's from Barbados, my dad's
Okay.
from Guyana, but we have so many relatives in the States, all over England. But that's kind of cool. You were close with your cousins then, right?
Yeah. On my
Yeah.
mom's side, my
On your
cousin,
mom's
my
side.
mom's side. Yeah, not my
Mhm.
dad's. Yeah. Yeah.
And, and and what was the age? Were they close in age range too, or all over the
Yeah.
map?
Yeah, they were pretty close in age range within a couple of years. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because that
I
helps out too.
was the oldest. Maybe they were maybe 2, 3 years younger than me. Yeah.
Hmm.
I was the oldest one.
Yeah.
Those are my buddies.
Yes, nice. And wait, are you still close to them now?
Uh, no, there's a few that's passed
Yeah.
on. Yeah. And the other ones went off into the military. They're in Texas. We don't keep in touch too much, which is sad. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
let's fast forward just for a minute.
Uh,
Born in Kentucky, but where are you residing right now? Let the people know because me and you
Vancouver.
shared a couple messages and I'm
Yeah.
like, where are you right now? Let the people know.
Yeah, Vancouver, British Columbia, bro. Yes. So you're okay. So you say your mom was Barbados and Guyana? Okay.
My dad, Guyana. Yes.
Okay. So you're not Canadian,
I
right?
am Canadian. Yeah, I was
Oh,
born here. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
My wife and I just turned Canadian about 3 years ago.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
just 3 years.
I knew there was something special, more special about you. Yeah, I love Canada, man. I love the people here, the vibe, the energy. It's just great. We moved here about 15 years ago for
Mhm.
the entertainment business, and yeah, it's just we noticed that every time we flew into town, we would walk in a more calm, soothing manner. Once
Yeah.
we land into LAX or the States, it's like everything's sped up. It was just, yeah, it's crazy. But love Vancouver, man. Love Canada. We are so glad to be Canadians.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
so wait, so you got your citizenship.
Yes,
So
sir.
you voted? Did you vote?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we did. And this is the first time we voted ever. Yeah. And well, you can't vote unless you're Canadian. Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you're a citizen, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this is the first time we voted. This is an important one. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
wait, I'm gonna get back to the early years, but one thing I gotta ask too, have you been to Toronto, even in
No,
your fight years?
no, man, no. To the
What?
airport, yeah, just flying around. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Never been and hung out in Toronto, but I hear it's amazing. Yeah, and they're
Jerry,
doing a lot
you
of
gotta
filming.
come.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
We'll do that, man.
when we're talking about the film industry, which I'm gonna mention later too, did you film mostly in the States? Because I know there's a lot of filming in Vancouver, but we have a big film scene in Toronto as well. So I thought you might have,
Yeah.
filmed here.
No, no, never filmed in Toronto. Yeah, we moved here for the entertainment business. Sorry, my wife's mom, she's passed now, but she said you guys need to go to Vancouver. And her and her friend Blue Andre, who was a Emmy Award winning producer. She's produced a ton of Lifetime stuff. Her and Amy's mom Samantha kept talking, going, "You guys got to get up to Vancouver." So
Yeah.
yeah, we applied for our PR card, and within a couple of years, we got it and came up here. And it's funny because through the years, we still got a place in LA. Through the years, I'll ask her and say, "Honey, hey, are you sure you want to go back to the States?" I mean, I'm good either way.
Yeah.
She's like, "Nope, nope, nope, nope. I love Vancouver. I love Canada."
Yeah.
And then this past year, when everything shit
Mhm.
hit the fan in the States,
Yeah.
I stopped asking her that and I said, you know what? We're meant to be here. Wow. Everything, there's so many good things that are happening for both of us here. It's just it was meant to be. And there's no second guessing and there's no questioning. Are we meant to be here? It's just, yes, we are. We love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Yo, so you mentioned we talked about before I started recording, but let the people know who your father-in-law is, and you mentioned Amy. So let the people know because
Uh,
One of my favorite movies. Your
yeah,
wife played it. Go ahead.
my wife is Amy Dolenz, daughter of Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees. He's the last surviving member. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just yeah, great guy. And it's funny, he's been married twice. Yeah, he's been married, no, three times,
Mhm.
and everyone gets along.
Yeah.
Back in the States, back where I'm from, you get divorced. No, man, it's not that easy. But everyone is so great. They get along, and yeah, he is just Mickey Dolenz is he's probably one of the most talented human beings I've ever seen. Yeah, he's incredibly gifted and talented, and just man, his mind's like whoa.
Yeah.
Hanging around with him is just it's a blast.
I can imagine. You know what's crazy? I still remember when I was in high school,
Yeah,
there was a TV show on the Monkees, right? It's
yeah.
kind of like satire, comedy. I loved it. You know what I mean? I was like, this is amazing. Dave, was it Davey? Who was the main one? Dave Smith, Davey.
Davy, well, Mickey Dolan, no, Davy Jones.
Davy Jones, that
Davy
was it.
Jones, yeah, that was the heartthrob young guy, yeah.
Yeah. And then
Hmm.
Nemeth, Dave, something. Yeah.
Michael Nesmith
Michael Nesmith. Yeah.
Peter Tork.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Great guys, great guys.
Amazing.
Yeah, so yeah, Mickey's the last surviving member. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's going strong, man. He's doing yoga. He almost did Krav Maga a couple years ago. He says, Jerry, I want to do Krav Maga. And I'm like, oh, you're like 78? Okay.
Yeah.
He thought about it and he went, yeah, you know what? Maybe not. Let me do. And he's done. Now he's into Wing Chun. He's
Oh,
is
really?
oh no Tai Chi. Sorry,
Tai Chi.
he's doing
Okay.
Tai Chi. He's doing Tai
Yeah.
Chi yoga. Yeah, he's really taking care of himself and just still touring and still kicking ass. It's great.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah, my
Okay,
pleasure.
Jerry, now back to you. You told me about your childhood. What I like to learn too, about my guest is what were your interests as a kid? So we're talking about school, but even before school, did you
Yeah,
find anything when you before you hit those school years? I mean, like junior high and high school. But
yeah.
did you have interest in sports, reading? What did you like back in the days?
No, I didn't have interest in sports. Reading, no. I didn't start really reading in the fifth grade. My teacher said, Jerry works well with others. He's a great student, but he needs to read more.
Mm,
Yeah, so I gradually got into reading. It's what I was really interested. What I did was with our cousins and my brother and sisters. I would start clubs. I had the Monster Club. And of course, I
okay.
was the president
Yeah.
and I was Dracula. And everyone that was a member, we would meet once a week and we would talk about monster movies and horror movies. And we would collect magazines and cut them out and trade pictures and stuff. And I was Dracula, so that I was the president. And then I started a sports club, and we did the same thing with the sports club. Then we started a movie star club, and then
Oh,
we opened up a haunted house. So I was an entrepreneur way before I even knew anything
you
about
knew it,
anything. Just I was, yeah. I mean, we had a friend's garage, and I said, my mom and dad for one Christmas. It was the best Christmas ever. They bought me a movie, a reel-to-reel movie projector,
right?
Super 8,
Yeah.
and all these films. And I came downstairs and I saw that. I was like, because at about 11, I was writing stories of movies,
Mhm.
the whole concepts of treatments, just writing movies. And the only thing was, I only had guys starring in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mom's like, why are no women in this? And I went, I don't really know any women actors, Mom.
Yeah.
So I know John Wayne, Richard Widmark, and all these guys. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I started all these clubs and just movie that we did a haunted house. We did so many different things, but I was really into doing things that would bring people together, that would make people happy.
Mhm.
And then what really changed, I was about 11 years old. You remember the Jerry Lewis Muscular Dystrophy Telethon?
Oh yeah, I actually remember that.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, my grandmother would watch it every year, and we'd have some of the family over, and I would watch it every single year. And when they would talk about putting on a carnival, I said, I'm going to do that. I put on a carnival at 11 years old. I coordinated all these people that helped me, cousins to help me. I said, listen, let's go get prizes. Let's go to the stores and say, hey, I'm doing a carnival for muscular dystrophy. Would you mind donating something for a prize? So we did it. I raised $176. And at that time, that was pretty good money. And
Yeah.
we big carnival in a church lot, and and that's when I realized I enjoyed it so much because it was giving back and it was helping, unfortunate kids,
Hmm.
with muscular dystrophy. And that's when I found my passion, and I went, oh my God, I love helping people. And then bullying kicked in and threw me off course.
Wow. So we have to get into that, but I really appreciate you sharing that too, because at an early age to realize like giving back is a good thing. Some people don't think of that when they're young. And
Yeah.
it's so then were you extroverted that you didn't have a problem meeting people and talking and
It was weird. I was a little bit of both. I was really shy around people, kids my age, but to
Mhm.
go and talk to an adult, no, to go into a store, my cousins were like, I'm not going and asking for toys. I went, we're doing a carnival, man. Yeah. And I just said, my name is Jerry Trimble, putting on a carnival for muscular dystrophy. Do you have anything you'd like to donate? And they gave us tons of stuff. Yeah, I
Amazing.
didn't have, but kids my age and a little older than me, yeah, it was weird. I was pretty shy in school.
Mhm.
I was shy in school. But when we got around my cousins, and oh no, man,
It's different. Yeah.
my grandmother, my grandma, we there was a three if there was a machine shop on the first floor, and then 2 stories, second and third floor in Newport, Kentucky, on 12th Street. And my grandmother lived there, and she had, I think, 8 or 9 of her kids living there with their kids.
Oh
So my
wow.
mom and dad, my brothers and sisters were there, and my cousins were there. And every night after dinner, my grandmother would put on Motown in the living room on a record player, and we would all dance.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, we would just there was a a lot of love there, and I had I didn't have problems talking to my family, but talking to anyone outside my family, I was really shy. Weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But you see what you're mentioning there? That whole um family time and
yeah.
talking to people. Isn't it so different, Jerry, how it is right now with social media?
Social
It's
media.
so different right now.
It's crazy. The kids are being desensitized, and it's funny. I've never ridden a bus before until I got to Vancouver. When we
Oh,
got
really?
here, yeah, when we got here,
Really?
I called my mom. I'm like, "Hey, mom, guess where I'm at?" She goes, "Where?" I said, "I'm on a bus." She said, "Wait a minute, you've never been on a bus before, have you?" I said, "No." I said, "It's pretty cool." And I said, "I'm the only one on here too." It was crazy, but I get on the because we have a car in Los Angeles. We don't really need a car here because
Mhm.
Transit's great, Evos are great, Ubers are great.
Yeah.
But you get on a bus, and especially when you see a family, even at dinner, oh my God, everyone's on the phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like telling my wife, I'm like, look at this. Oh my God, this guy, he I see it often where the father will take, you can see that maybe it's the father and the son, the father and the daughter, taking the daughter out, taking the son out to dinner,
Mhm.
and the father's on the phone, kid's on the phone. And sometimes the father's on the phone and the kid's just sitting there like, hey dad, you brought me out to dinner.
Yeah.
You're gonna talk to me. It's 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 crazy. Unlike back in the day where we used to sit down for dinner.
Yeah, it's changed
Yeah,
so much.
yeah.
And it's not going back, T Jerry. It's
No,
we're
I
in a
don't see
different
it. I
different
don't
time now.
I don't think
Yo,
so.
so you speak of the bus. Before I
No.
got one more question about school, but before I get into that, when did you get your license, bro? I gotta know. When did you start driving?
16. Yeah,
At
yeah.
16.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 16 years old. Yeah. My dad started teaching me how to drive, and we didn't get along that well at the time, teach me how to drive. He just got irritated with me. I'm like,
Yeah.
screw it, Dad. I'm going to ask Dave, my buddy Dave, to teach me. So my dad taught me. I got it. Yeah. And my dad gets me my first car is a 69 Rally Sport Camaro.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
now I'm like, wow. If I can go back and have it again.
Yeah.
I was like, no power windows, Dad.
Yeah.
This is an old car. He's like, son, you have no idea what you got here. I'm like, you're right, I don't.
Yeah.
Looking back at it now, I'm like, oh my God, 69 Rally Sport Camaro is great. Yeah.
Classic,
It's funny.
classic.
Yeah.
Okay, now in school,
Mhm.
did you have any teachers? Because you seem like I think we're kind of the same in this respect. I didn't start excelling in school until college. Because I went to college. But in high school, I never failed the subject, but I wasn't interested. I was a more sports guy and I'd like drama, like acting and stuff like
Okay.
that. One thing I like to ask is, do you have any standout memorable teachers from high school where you're like, without this direction or this guidance, I don't know what would happen to me. Do you have any stories to share like that?
Yeah, his name was Mr. Vitas. He was my fifth grade history teacher. No, social studies teacher. And in he was he cared,
Yeah.
and I felt that. Where I had one year it was fifth grade. I got all A's and one B, so I got tickets to see the Cincinnati Reds play in
Oh,
the World Series. So
yeah.
if you get all A's or all A's and one B, you get season tickets, and I got season tickets, which was great, and I got it in his class. So it makes a big difference getting a teacher that really cares, and he's the one that said Jerry really works well with others, but he needs to read more. And now working with kids, I'm like, he's got to read. Yeah, but
Very important.
but there are teachers, and this is for teachers, be careful what you say because there's a teacher that to this day, and it was a long time ago, I was in shop class. Now, in shop class, I get you got to have your shirt tucked in because if it catches in the
Yeah.
machine, it'll pull you in, cut you up.
Hmm.
But when we were out of shop class, uh, I would walk through the halls and he'd see me with my shirt tucked in. He says, "Trimble, get your shirt tucked in. You look like a slob." And he said that all the time. And I
Hmm.
was to the point, it drove me nuts. I didn't, from that moment on, I stopped a dress shirt? No, unless I'm wearing a tie, you won't see me tuck a dress shirt in. Unless
Oh,
it's
wow.
super long, yeah. And I'm like, you know what? Nobody's going to tell me how to dress. I said that he was just getting on me just to bully me. And then
Hmm.
there was another teacher that was Mr. Barbarius, I think Barnabas or something. Ooh, yep. He was a sixth grade teacher. I cut a joke in class, and I'm saying this because of the effects that teachers have on you.
Yeah.
He belittled me so much at that moment when I cut a joke in class that he's like, "You are not funny. You are not funny, Jerry. You are not funny. You will never be funny." And he just kept belittling me.
Hmm.
And so and to that day, it took me a while to get over that. And the last
Wow.
time that I let it get over that is when I turned down an audition, my first audition for a comedic role. I went, no, 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 no.
Really?
I'm not funny. I'm not funny. And I turned it
Wow.
and I told my wife we weren't married at the time. We were living together. And I said, I just turned down an audition. And I told her about it. She says, you can't do that. And so I just worked on it. And yeah. And after that, I'm like, bring it on. But
Yeah.
Mr. Vetus, he was the one he really meant a lot to me and encouraged me. And yeah, it meant a lot. Yeah. I love that teacher. He was my favorite teacher. Yep.
Yeah. You said something important there too, right? Just like any like parents,
Yeah.
friends. Now you're on teacher, so let me just say this: things that teachers say to you, whether it be good or bad, it stays with you, and
Yeah.
it's crazy to hear that story because you don't forget their names and you don't forget how it made you feel at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, man. Yeah, people need to be careful what they say to kids. I mean, you're giving them a lifelong impression, and the subconscious mind doesn't know what's real and what's not real. So
Hmm.
it's funny because I love my mom and dad. I love them to death. God bless them. And my mom would go, "Oh, you're so stupid," and she'd say that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of affected me in the later years, and I went, "That's where limiting beliefs, kind of pile up." And I was home a couple of years ago, and I was doing a talk at a school in Newport, and I forgot something. Came into the house, and she goes, "Oh, your brain's broken." She goes, "What'd you forget?" And I said, "I forgot my keys." She goes, "Your brain's broken." Just
Yeah.
joking. Said I left, and I came back, and I said, "You stop that." I said, "You take that back." She goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Doesn't say anything now, but
Yeah.
here everything it's like one of the four agreements. Be
Mhm.
impeccable with your word. Everything that comes out of your mouth needs to be positive,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to kids, anyone, even joking around going, "Oh, you're such an idiot." Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's you got to be careful with that. Everyone needs to be careful, have an impeccable word. because you're planting seeds. We're constantly doing gardening every day, man. We're planting seeds, and oh my God, yeah, it's crazy. And you never know what somebody's going through, you know? Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow,
Crazy.
you
What's
said
that,
something.
Powell? Yeah.
You said something profound there. Planting seeds. That's a good way to put it. Oh
Yeah.
wow,
We're all gardeners, man.
we're
You
all
just
gardeners.
got to make sure we plant some good, good seeds.
Wow. Okay.
Empowering seeds, yeah.
Okay. So Jerry, before I'm wearing this shirt for a
I love
reason.
that shirt, bro.
Yes.
I was gonna wear mine. I should have worn it. My gut, see, my gut said wear it, and I went no. I said I'm gonna be leaving after this, so I'll just put something on that's a little warmer. Boom, and I could just bump out of here. And
Yeah.
that was my gut saying that. Yeah, I didn't listen to my gut, man.
Ah, you gotta
That's
trust your gut.
great. Yeah, hold on, I'll call you right back.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Before I ask my question, because we're getting into the martial arts now, but
yeah.
I want to know your height. How tall are you?
5'10".
And were you a late bloomer? Because I had I was interviewing a professional dunker, Chris Staples, on my show, right? And he's 6'2". And I'm like, were you a late bloomer? When did you sprout up and everything? He gave me his history. Sometimes I'm getting the history from people like, how tall are you? When did you grow? For you, were you short as a kid and then you sprouted up in grade 9 and 10, or were you always taller?
Yeah, but I still think I'm short. My
Yeah.
friends are all tall. They're like
Yeah.
6. I think I probably started sprouting around maybe 14, 15. Maybe
Yeah.
I think when I got into martial arts, that's when I started to grow. Maybe all the stretching I did. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I see about
Okay.
14, but I was a short kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was short up until about 13, 14. 14, I
Okay.
would say. 14, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Derek, walk me through your martial arts journey. Like,
Okay.
how did it start and what was the reason like you got into it?
Uh 12, 11, 12, 13. I started getting bullied after that carnival. I said my passion was I wanted to do stuff that helped people. And then bullying kicked in at 12 and 13. Um, I was bullied a lot. I was bullied by the teachers. I was bullied by the kids. I was name called. I had cold sores. I had acne, like severe. I had rashes on my neck. It was like I looked like something from a horror movie. And there were times where I actually made excuses not to go to school just for fear of being bullied. And there was one day uh, I was crying in my room after being bullied. My dad comes in and he's like, he knew what was wrong and talks to me about, he said, son, you need more confidence. You got to find something you're good at. He said, you quit at everything you start. Now come on. And I said, yeah. And he says, seriously, that's what you need. You need something to build your confidence. So I decided to try sports. I tried swimming, baseball, track, basketball, football, and I quit all of them. But here's the weird thing. I was bullied in all of them but track. In track, I was really good at. I was fast
Hmm.
from running from the bullies.
Yeah.
But on the day of our track meet, on the way to the track meet, this is it. I could win a trophy. I was, and everything was great. I stopped and fear kicked my ass so bad that I thought of what if I fall? What if I embarrass myself? I'll make a fool out of myself. And I quit. I went to the hamburger stand and sit and ate hamburger and French fries, and did not go. And I quit track. That was the only thing I quit, but everything else I quit just because of being bullied. And then in our football year, coming back from football practice, I was walking through the projects in Kentucky, and I had my own personal bully, yeah, who was I said, we're good now.
Hmm.
So him and his buddies jumped me and started beating the hell out of me. And after they left, thank God somebody was yelling at them to stop. I'm walking through the streets, and there was this bridge that I would always go across. The bridge, there was two bridges that went from Kentucky to Ohio, and I would go to the comic book store, across the bridge, and I would always stop in the middle of the bridge at this particular spot, and I would sit literally go in my head and contemplate if I just jump off, boom, it'll just all my pain and everything will be gone. And then I thought of would the water kill me, or hitting the water kill me, or would I drown? And I would continue on my way to the comic book store. But on that day, I decided that's it. Screw it. I'm going to the bridge and I'm gonna jump this time. And I went, got to that spot, and I started praying, and just started thinking of my family. And then boom, I just backed away and started walking off the bridge. Walking through the streets of Newport. I don't know how long I was walking for. I just happened to stop, and I was standing in front of the movie theater, Cinema 1 and 2, and there was two movies playing. It was Bruce Lee's Chinese Connection and Planet of the Apes. I'm glad I went to go see Planet of the Apes. Everybody's like, "What do you think you would have done if you would have saw Planet of the Apes?" I'm like, "I have no idea." So I went in and I saw the movie, and it changed my life. I was so inspired. I go home, I asked my dad, I'm like, "Hey dad, I saw this movie, Bruce Lee, Chinese Connection. Hey, can I join karate?" My dad's like, he said, "You quit at everything you start. Get the hell out of here." And then I took all the money I had, go to the magazine store and buy every martial arts magazine I had, go back and I turn my room into a dojo, my floor into a dojo, and I start practicing, and just I put everything into it, trying to find the techniques and looking at the pictures and trying to kick and doing everything crazy. And then on my 14th birthday, my parents talked to my uncle Leroy, who was a naval. He studied kung fu in the Navy. He wanted to do get into a dojo. So there was a Taekwondo studio that happened to just opened up. So he takes me down and enrolls me in Taekwondo, and I walked. I'd walk 2 miles to the dojo every day, Monday through Friday, and then my dad would pick me up after the class. And I did it, man. I was into it religiously. And as a green belt, after about 3 months, I got my green belt like 3 months after my two testings. And I mean, literally going 6 days a week, and I was putting everything into it. I cut my wrist. I had to take off so many months. And then I got back into it, and another 15 months, yeah, 15 months later, boom, I get my black belt. So it took me a total of 18 months to get my black belt of training every day. And then when I was a blue belt, I went on 3 tournaments. I lost all three. I go to my instructor. I'm like, "Why do I keep losing?" He goes, "Well, it's because you keep sparring people that you're better than. You keep sparring the low ranks." He goes, "You need to spar people that are better than you, people that are bigger, taller, faster than you." And I went, "Oh, okay." So I started doing that. I won my first tournament, my first place tournament as a blue belt. And then that Monday in school, I go to school and I was feeling good. And I didn't think anyone knew I was in karate because I kept it a secret. And then my bully comes up in the locker room. Man, he comes up and just starts. He's like, "Trimble, you think you know karate?" He says, "You don't know nothing. You're just a punk sissy loser." And he gets in, and I'm like, "How in the hell did he know?" He comes in, he pushes me up against the locker, pulls his hand back, and I unleash and I just start wailing like Bruce Lee. I was like, I don't know if I did the cat sounds, but I was just firing everything. They break it up. And from that moment, I was never bullied again. And I had this reputation around school, like, whoa, he stood up to this guy. Yeah, it was crazy. And then kept doing the tournament circuit, won a bunch of trophies. Where are the trophies? I don't know because I left them in a friend's mother's farm when I went to Atlanta, Georgia, and afterwards I went, "They're just trophies. They're going to take up space in my apartment. They're just trophies. I don't, I won." My mom's like, "I can't believe you didn't let those trophies go." There was like maybe 50 trophies.
Wow.
They're just trophies. I was like, ah. So then one day I saw kickboxing on ESPN, Richard Jackson and Howard Jackson, and I went, "Ooh, I think I can beat these guys. I think, ooh, let me try that." And then started studying boxing. And then, yeah, man, got into kickboxing and won the Kentucky State Championship, the Georgia's Championship, Southeast Championship, the US Championship, and two world titles.
Whoa.
Yeah. I
All
was
yo. So
uh,
that bullying was the catalyst to
yep,
what happened in your life. That's amazing to hear.
yep,
I've been waiting to hear that story like firsthand, I've heard glimpses of it, and so it
yeah,
was nice to hear. But what kind of discipline and mindset does it take at that age? Because this whole starting and stopping that your
Yeah.
father said, right? And
Yep.
I've done it too. Like you start
Yep.
something, you stop something, and it really takes something that you're really interested in, and you have to have um that drive, something to drive you. And a lot of people like nowadays you hear that word haters.
Yeah.
And the haters there that fuels you and things like
Yep.
that. But you
When you
had
quit
that
the hate
bully.
win. Yep.
Yeah. So what discipline and mindset did it take at that age? Were you just driven and like it's all go?
What I saw Bruce Lee do on screen and the way he carried himself, I said I did. It wasn't that he was kicking everybody's ass and he was a badass. I said I want to I want to have that confidence. It was the confidence that he had.
Yes.
That's what I wanted. That's what really intrigued me. I said I want to have that confidence. And then it's funny. I was just interviewed for a book, and the guy's like, he said, "What are your, favorite martial arts movies?" And I went, "You know what? Be honest with you, as a kid, I was a diehard Bruce Lee fan. No one
Mhm.
else compared to him. I didn't watch Sammo Hung and all these other guys. I just didn't get into it. I was into the classic movies, Richard Widmark, Audrey Hepburn, or shit like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was a Bruce. What he exhibited, that confidence I wanted. And I knew it was going to take discipline. If I wanted, and for the first time, my dad said, "You quit at everything and start," I said, maybe this might be the thing that I'm good at. That's
Yeah.
what voice in my head. That was my gut. That was
Mhm.
my heart. My ego was going. When I first joined the school, I was so shy that I hated being barefoot around people I didn't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
I got ugly feet. I'm like, and my wife's like, "You got nice feet." I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
But I was in the dressing room literally talking myself out before coming to the first class. I said, saying that yeah, who are you kidding? You're gonna mess up. You're gonna embarrass yourself. You're not gonna be good at it. And all these doubts started percolating in my brain.
Mhm.
And somebody knocked on the door, scared the hell out of me. I go into the class. I just jump in, and after that, whoa. Something clicked in me, and I said, I am going to stick with this. I'm going to be disciplined. And I wanted to be a black belt. I didn't set goals as a kid before that.
Mhm.
I started setting goals. I said,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to become a green belt. I'm going to become a blue belt. I'm going to become a black belt. I said I was going to become a black belt in 2 years. I did
Yeah.
it in a total of 18 months of training. And that's whoa. But that was 6 days a week, man.
Yeah.
Except for the time that I cut my wrist, but I couldn't do it. But yeah, man, and that's what I teach the kids is what ask and you shall receive. You got to put it out there, and it takes discipline. It takes a routine. I never had routines before.
Mhm.
I get up and I train, and I read everything written down. I would put in my a calendar exactly what I did that day, what I needed to improve on. I had structure. I had a structured routine, and that I never had before, and it was just full on discipline with a purpose. And then once I said, "Ooh," I saw these guys on ESPN. I said, "Wow, that'd be cool to be on ESPN."
Yeah.
And they didn't. Howard Jackson, God bless him, rest in peace. Richard Jackson, same thing. They're not brothers, but I trained in the gyms that they trained in. These guys are legends. They're amazing. But I said I can kick better than them, and I went, I'm not really a boxer, but I can learn. So then
Yeah.
I got a boxing trainer, Terry O'Brien from Covington, Kentucky, started training me in boxing, and he says, "We're going to get you a fight set up." My first fight was for the Kentucky State
Yeah.
Championship with my best friend. We had we had we, yeah we had a grudge because some people were saying, "Oh, he's bad mouthing you," and I'm like, seriously. So I confronted him, and we had words, and so we challenged each other. And yeah, there was a title fight coming up, and he was the AAU lightweight national champion.
Mhm.
And I went, okay, okay, it's on. And then after that, I went, okay, I'm doing it all, man. I'm going for the world championship. Let's just, if you're gonna, I'm not gonna half-ass this one. I'm gonna do it all.
Oh, amazing. Yo, it's amazing to hear this story firsthand again. Um, One thing I want to know is that name, Golden Boy. But before I ask you that though, did you have any setbacks? I know you're talking about the cut on your wrist, but did you have any major setbacks in your early fighting years that you're like, oh, injury, now I gotta heal and rest?
Yeah, injury, doubts. Yeah, there was a lot. I had, wow. Wrangler jeans.
Yes. Yeah.
Wrangler jeans.
Hmm.
They approached me in my camp, Asa Gordon, my trainer, and said, "We're interested in sponsoring Jerry." And I went, "Oh, shoot. That means I wear their Wrangler logo on every
Yeah.
fight." And this was I think I was a Kentucky. I had just won the Georgia State Championship, and I had a fight scheduled with Gary Garner. He was the Florida State champion.
Mhm.
Tough fighter, really tough fighter. And I said, "Okay, great." The fight was on. Oh man, my buddies are going, "Hey, Jerry, come on. It's Daytona. It's spring break, Daytona Beach." And I'm like, guys, I got to fight in 2 months. And they're like, no, come on, man. You can come down. We'll go, for like a week. It was like, no, the fight was 6 weeks away. They wanted me to go down and hang for a week. And my gut, my instinct says no. I did it. I went down. We partied. It was crazy. It was stupid. It was immature. I come back and he beat me, but he didn't beat me. He literally just would throw a certain kick and kept front kicking me. And on the way into the ring, I kept battling in my head,
Mhm.
"You idiot. Why did my ego kept stepping in, going, you are so stupid. You went down and you partied and you got Wrangler jeans. You're wearing it around your waist right now." It was a crazy fight. Yeah, so that was a major setback, and that affected me for a while. That's the first time I ever cried. That was
Wow.
my first, yeah, that was my first pro loss. And I cried, and my uncle's like, don't worry, man. You'll rise from this." And I just really reflected and went inside and did a lot of praying. And man, I just came back and I said, "I'm never going to lose again." And I used that, and thank God I used it as a positive. And then I had another trainer, and the trainer said, "Okay, who'd you lose to?" I said, he goes, "Good. I'll only take you on if we fight that guy and we fight him." And he said, "You lose anybody in your amateur fight?" I said, "Yeah, this guy." But I said, and he looks to fight. He goes, "You didn't lose. You got ripped off." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, you have to fight both of these fights if you want me to take you on." I said, "Okay." So we called the first guy. He didn't want to fight me
Hmm.
because I was excelling. And then Gary Garner, I fought him and I just annihilated him and beat him. So yeah, which is cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, that yeah, injuries. I fought the U.S. champion. Almost was going to back out. I fought it
Hmm.
with a broken rib.
Oh.
A week before the fight, I cracked my floating rib, and
Mm.
the I said, I'm fighting for the U.S. championship. I said, I can't back out. There's no way. This is the U.S. title.
Yeah.
So this was a week and a half before the fight. Eddie Helms did a beautiful, I did an overhand right. He did a spinning back kick, boom, lands one right in the rib. Fractured it. Didn't fully
Yeah.
break it, but fractured it. So the day of the fight, we go into the doctor sees the rib and he said, that's gonna hurt. And he says, it's gonna hurt, possibly could break it. And I said, you know what? Anything you could do to numb it up. So he injected Novocaine in me and I went in and fought and didn't feel a thing. And I don't know if that's legal now, but it was back in the day. I broke the US champion's jaw in two places. And I became US champion. But I almost backed down of that. Other ones, no, not really. Tony Rosser fight, I almost quit that because I didn't think I was ready. Doubt, man.
Hmm.
Even though I was on the rise and I was in the top 10, there were still times I doubted myself. And
Yeah.
even these days now, it's hard. It's very, it's few and far between at times when I do say I question it, but then that subconscious mind and my belief of who I am and who I become overcomes that. And
Yeah.
there's a quote I just posted on social media. It says, "Become so strong." And this is what I work with kids.
Hmm.
Become so strong inside that nothing on the outside can affect your inner wellness. And that's where I've been working on for years. And I'm working on a book now, and that's the theme of the book. And I
Yeah.
teach how to boom, become so strong inside that nothing, screw what anybody thinks about you.
Hmm.
And oh man, that was tough for me. I would always worry about what other people would think about me. And then here I am coming out with a gold uniform, shiny gold uniform. I'm like,
Yeah.
hell with them.
I like that.
Here.
And Jerry, I like how you're giving back. So it's almost like this happens a lot.
Yeah.
Some people go through pain in their life, and that pain can come from anything, anywhere. and they take that pain and they share it with others because some kids might be going through that same type of pain. And
Yeah.
by you sharing your story, that helps them out and it heals them
Yeah.
in a way. I like that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. One big pivotal moment that, well, it kind of made me realize that I don't want to fight anymore. I had a drug overdose. After I
Oh.
won the world championship, I defended it for 4 years and undefeated in the 4 years I defended it. And all of a sudden I had friends coming out my everywhere, man.
Mhm.
And I got involved with drugs and violence and just, people messing with me in the clubs and messing with my friends. I wouldn't take any shit.
Yeah.
And it was all ego.
Mhm.
I stopped listening to my heart and started listening to my ego. And then we went out and just partied for days and had a drug overdose. And then after everything was said and done, I'm hitchhiking to Florida, and I had an epiphany at 3 o'clock in the morning on Alligator Alley at the Florida Turnpike to get out of the fighting game and go to California and be in movies and help kids, inspire kids, and help them to learn from the stupid shit that I did.
Yeah.
And that was probably my biggest pivotal moment.
Another
I went,
pivotal.
oh, crazy, man.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I'm glad you shared that because every
Mhm.
time I do podcasts, I see pivotal moments in people's lives and what inspired them to do something else and where it led them. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, it's crazy because I'm gonna ask you before we get into the movies,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you about three particular fights, but I first want to know Golden Boy.
Yeah.
That name carries a lot of weight.
Mm.
Where did it come from?
I was always tan. I had rings on every finger,
Yeah.
like literally on every finger. I had gold chains, and when I went to Daytona Beach, that time, no, it was another time that we went to Daytona Beach, came back, and I was extremely dark tan, and I come down to the gym, and Asa, my trainer, goes, the Golden Boy, because we were trying to figure out a name for him.
Yeah.
It was super fast. It was Trippy Trimble. It was Thumper. It was like all these different names. We were trying to think of a name that would stick. And he said, Golden Boy, that's your new name. And I went, ooh, Ace, I like that. Well, and then it stuck, man. It stuck. So yeah, golden. Yeah, everything was golden.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool that you still have
Yeah.
the tapes, the recordings. Because every time I'm watching, I've watched a lot of your fights, right? I'm gonna ask about three of them, but you hear the announcers say the Golden Boy, Jerry Trimble. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was before De La Hoya too. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny,
O-
man.
Okay, Jerry. First fight I got something to read here, right? And then you just take me through it if you can recollect
Okay.
that particular fight. So you against Fred RC.
Brad RC.
It was a 5 round fight.
Yeah.
So punch after punch, numerous spinning back kicks by you.
Yeah.
Cut on your left eye. In the fourth round, cut on your right eye.
Mm.
17 seconds left in the fight. In round four, I believe. You hit him with a crazy kick. It went to the fifth round and you got the decision. Can you tell me a little bit about that fight? Do you remember it?
Yeah, it's funny. I had a grudge against that guy
Mm.
because he was going around saying, Trimble, he's a legend in his own mind. He's nothing. He was just belittling me. And my uncle goes up to him and he said something smart ass to my uncle, and then when he goes, let's place a bet. So my uncle placed a bet with him, and he says, "You got to beat this guy. I just bet him that you're going to kick his ass."
Yeah.
And so there was somewhat of a grudge there. Yeah, yeah, that was a crazy fight. That was a crazy fight. That was, yeah, Fred Arcee. Yeah, he was. We had a little angst going against each other, so that was more of a grudge fight. I had to win that fight. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what I didn't know this because
Mm.
now I'm watching the fight and there's a certain amount of kicks you have to get in,
Back
which
in the day. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
But what I noticed about you specifically in that fight, your spinning back kick is crazy.
Yeah.
And then like you executed a lot of them in the fight.
Yeah.
So you surpassed one of the announcers was saying you have to meet a quota of the spinning back. I mean, sorry, the kicks.
It's,
But you
yeah.
were just You were kicking like crazy. Is that one of your favorite things to do in the fight?
Yeah, jump spinning hook kick's my
Yeah.
favorite kick. I wanted to develop a kick and do a kick, my own style of a kick
Okay.
that nobody else does.
Mhm.
And it's funny because when I see people, I'm like, let me see your hook kick. People teach a hook kick a different way that I threw it. And when I throw it using the thigh as a handle of a whip, and then you whip it around. And I
Mhm.
tell people when you're throwing a hook kick, you make sure that your heel kicks yourself in the ass. Because if the force is strong enough, you're going to kick your butt when you whip it around. It's
Mhm.
going to come around so fast that it's going to kick you in the rear. And if it doesn't kick you in the rear, you're throwing it too slow. So every time I threw a hook kick, man, it would just boom, it would whip around so fast. It'd have to be so fast and so hard that it would literally kick me right in my butt every single time. So I'd be kicking my ass at the same time and trying to kick their ass. And yeah, man, I practiced that kick thousands and thousands of times in the mirror and on a bag and on targets. Yeah, when we were training for fights, we would do kicking rounds.
Mhm.
We would have a counter, like one of those little counters,
Yeah.
and we would see how many kicks we could kick in 3 minutes, and which was the rounds of the kickboxing match, or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But we did 3 minute rounds in sparring and in drills, and I was averaging 500 to 600 kicks in 3 minutes, and it was just bang, 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 bang. It was just nonstop. So I knew because it's like. I compared not getting your because there was one time, a couple times where the fighters that I fought didn't get their kicks in, but they lost that round. And I'm
Mhm.
going, oh my God, got to get my kicks in. Not getting your kicks in is like an actor being on set and forgetting your lines, which is
Okay.
terror. Yeah.
Wait, wait.
I
So,
just want to make sure. Yeah.
so tell me something though. If you don't get your kicks in, what happens?
That you lose that round. The fighter that
Oh.
doesn't get his kicks in loses that round. Because what would happen was in the beginning years of kickboxing, that style of kickboxing,
Mhm.
which wasn't MMA, they encouraged the legs. You couldn't do leg kicks because they wanted to encourage kicks to the head. They wanted to encourage the jump spinning kicks.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you didn't get any kicks in, if you didn't get your kicks in, they would you'd lose the round basically. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, thanks for sharing that knowledge. Um, it's crazy when I see the kick though, the balance is crazy. There's two things that I find amazing. When you do a spinning kick, you call it the hook,
spinning
and
hook.
the spinning hook, and you maintain your balance and also the flexibility.
Yeah.
So I seen a lot of guys. I remember back in junior high, I think it was junior high, when they first seen Van Damme
Yeah.
in First Blood. Well, no, not First Blood. Bloodsport.
Blood
And
sport. Yeah.
and we that's the first time I seen the splits really, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
holy but then I noticed a lot of the martial artists and things like that, splits is like no problem. When
Yeah.
did you get your flexibility? And when it comes to the kicks to
Yeah.
maintain your balance, what does that take?
It takes hours and hours and hours of practice, and there are so many different ways you do it. We stretched every day, and I think I got my full splits probably as a blue belt,
Mhm.
and I got the Chinese splits, the American splits. I mean, I could literally kick straight up in there.
Oh.
We go to seminars and tournaments, and people would come up and go, "Hey, Jerry, can you like do that kick up in the air?" I'm like, "Boom, straight up in the air." But it's just there's tension kicks. We do kicks where you pick your leg up, extend the leg out, hold it out for 15 seconds, back in, 15 slow kicks, and then hold it out for 15. And then we would jack it up to hold your leg up for 50 seconds, hold it out for 50 seconds,
Mhm.
back for 50 seconds, 50 slow kicks, and then we do fast kicks. And then we'd stand on one leg and try to kick three, four, five, six times. And me and my buddies would be like, okay, I got you. I got 15 kicks without my leg hitting the floor. Boom, 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 boom. And we would just try to outdo each other every single time. We made training fun, and
Yeah.
we'd always try to outdo each other. But on the kicking drills, we would keep track on the in our calendars to
Mhm.
say, okay, I did 555 kicks. I got to break that record today,
Oh.
and then we would try to break our records. And our trainer's going, okay, did you break your record? I'm like, no, not really. He says, okay, do another round, break that record. Then I do it until I break the round. Yeah,
Wow.
it was a lot. And I trained literally. I trained 8 hours a day. I get up in the morning. I do 6 to 8 miles of running.
Mhm.
I go home, I rest, I do whatever, and then I'd go to the weightlifting gym
Mhm.
during the afternoon. I train 2 hours there. I'd go home, do whatever. Then I'd go to the boxing gym, kickboxing gym, and I train from it was like 4 to like 9 o'clock. So I
Yeah.
literally trained at least 8 hours a day every single day. That's all I did.
Sure.
Yeah,
That was your life.
that's
Wow.
my life, man. Yeah, if you're gonna do it, man, you got to do it all the way or nothing. Yeah,
Yes. Like to hear it. Okay. Last fight I'm gonna ask about here, right? Trimble versus Lavoda.
DJ Lavo.
Yes. So, couple standouts in this fight. I noticed you were talking to Lavoda, like, come hit me. In round five, vicious spinning back kick, and then you had an overhand right. Let me know, because his nose got broke. Let me know what did it. Was the kick or the punch?
I
Also, they called the fight, but I don't think they called it when they should have. I
yeah.
want to know, as a fighter yourself, when you know a guy has had enough, or
Yeah.
you know he's broken or something like that, how do you continue when the ref doesn't call the fight? So two things. Walk me through that, the breaking of the nose and the continuing of the fight.
I think it was probably a combination of both. I think it could have maybe fractured a little bit in the nose, but I don't know if I hit him in the nose or hit the gloves that hit the nose. I don't know. But the overhand right, that's when it boom. I think it was the overhand right that did it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they should have stopped it earlier, I believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
But as a fighter back then, I'm glad they didn't stop it. They stopped it too soon. But that again, that was my ego. That was my
Mhm.
ego because now I'm in a whole different mindset that uh, I don't I don't think people should fight for a living. I don't think they should have to see two grown men get in there and try to kill each other
Yeah.
just for some money. The fighting world is all ego and all greed. And
Yeah.
people are like, "Hey, come over watch some fights." I'm going, I go over to hang with people. I don't go over to just, I mean, once in a while I'll watch a fight, but I cringe at these, people trying to kill each other. Even
Yeah.
though, I used to do it. I got parents that come up to me going, Jerry, hey, my son wants to get into MMA, wants to start fighting. I'm like, why? They said,
Yeah.
he really enjoys it. And I said, okay, let me talk to him. So when I talk to him, I'm like, you know what? This is the most valuable asset, physical asset you have. I said, you got to take care of the brain. I
Mhm.
said, if I can go back and do it all over again, would I fight? Probably not. Knowing
Mhm.
what I know now, I would not fight. No, I think everyone should study martial arts. Everyone should study martial arts for the body, mind, spirit side and learn how to defend yourself and be
Mhm.
able to handle stressful situations, adversity, and be able to defend yourself. But I don't think and I've actually talked to a couple of friends of mine that they work in health clubs and stuff. They're like, hey, yeah, I'm training them. I'm gonna fight. And I'm like, really? I said, how old are you? It's like, oh, I'm 26. I'm like, oh, okay, man. And so I tell them my story and I just say, listen, if I were you, I would pursue another avenue. If you're just doing it just because it's fun, I said somebody hits you in the right place at the right time, boom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I said, dude, is that fun? I said, you're done. And I said, seriously, think about somebody just pummeling your brain and your nose and everything. And then months would go later, and he says, "Hey, man, I'm not doing it. You're right. Hey, good advice." He goes, "I was
Right.
sparring." He goes, "And I got hit hard." And I went, "I said, dude, I said, you haven't seen anything yet. You're just starting out." So yeah, but
Yeah.
man, that was my ego back in the day to want to just because every time after a fight, I would record in my calendar. Okay, I gave this guy 15 stitches, a black eye, and a busted eardrum. I broke this guy's rib. This guy went to the hospital. This guy's right eye he couldn't see out of his right eye. And then, yeah, man, it was crazy. And I would feed on that, but that was all ego.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I look at myself back in the day and I'm going, God, was I really like that? I mean, in the barroom fights, that was ego on steroids. But I
Yeah.
never started anything, but I wouldn't take shit from anyone and I would always protect my friends.
Mhm.
And yeah, and it was stupid. It was crazy. It was ego. And now, I mean, I don't remember the last time. Yeah, thank God for meditation, man. Woo.
Yeah.
Meditation saved my life. literally saved my life. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah. But yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
this is a perfect time to ask this question because you touched on a lot of things and you mentioned one thing about everyone should take martial arts. My good friend Danny used to box back in high school. And because of Facebook and Instagram, we're friends now on Instagram. You reconnect, right?
Yeah.
So I want to see how you answer this. So he had a question. Um, how many ways martial arts can have a positive impact in your life from mental, physical, emotional, helping you through the elements of life like values, addictions, spiritualities, friendships, commitments. How do you think martial art helps out in that way?
Oh my God, what it does is when I talk to kids, I said if human beings, if we could say what are our superpowers, our human powers, they're discipline, willpower, focus, concentration, courage, and confidence. Martial arts helps you to develop all those human powers, those superpowers that you have. It strengthens your coordination, your just all these different elements and all these different traits that oh my God, to list all the benefits of the martial arts is it's crazy.
Mhm.
But the sad thing about the martial arts world and where I see that it's heading, it's becoming too commercialized and too there's just I sometimes I'll walk by a karate school or a dojo and I'll watch the instructor teaching. And when you parents ask me, they say, "So where's my son, my daughter study?" I said, "Take them to a class, let them try the class out, and watch the instructor." I said, "If you see an instructor that just walks around harping orders all the time and is looking in the mirror, checking himself out, checking herself out, and never correcting the students," I said, "that is a martial art. That's a teacher from my point of view of teaching from the ego." I said,
Mhm.
"When you see, you can feel when an instructor's right." Yeah. Oh man, but the benefits of martial arts, I mean, it saved my life. It literally saved my life in every aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it
Nice.
also, it made me feel invincible in a way, and my ego back in the day, but I learned from it. I grew from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but martial arts, I mean, it's unlimited what it can do for you. But you need for anyone out there that's interested in getting into the martial arts, take a class first. Take a
Mhm.
class first. Do your due diligence. Look up the instructor. Look up the school. Look up the reputation, and go in and just you can tell if someone's all ego or it's coming from the ego or the heart. And then I tell martial arts studios make sure that you find an instructor that teaches from the heart, not from the ego.
Mhm. Good
Yeah.
advice. Good advice there. Thanks for sharing that one. Um, and I believe martial art, any kind of fighting, it builds that confidence that allows you to do things that you wouldn't do in your that whole fear. You have a fear of something.
Yep.
Martial art, any kind of fighting style, it builds that confidence too,
That
right?
confidence, yeah, because you're using your courage, and
Ah,
the byproduct of courage is confidence.
yeah.
Martial arts helps you to develop that courage and strengthen that courage. My God, I was getting my ass kicked in the first 3 point tournaments. I mean, I'm literally fighting, and I would charge and bang, the guy just kicked me, and I'm like, oh man. And I try to do this, and ah, I was scared to death, but the more I did it, the easier it got. And the martial arts to be able to get in front of people, to be able to do a kata, and you got people watching you, and you're thinking, are they judging me?
Mm,
You're thinking, God, am I going to remember all these moves? And when you do, it develops that confidence.
yeah.
It's strengthening the courage to get out of your comfort zone because the comfort zone, I say it can be a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. And
Yeah.
martial arts helps you to get out of your comfort zone. And the more you get out of that comfort zone, man, the more you grow. I
Yeah.
know, man, because I was stuck in my comfort zone as a kid, and martial arts helped me to, oh wow, it's just it's crazy what it did for me. I mean, it
Yeah.
literally saved my life. Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. Okay, Jerry. Um, the last subject we're going to talk about is your acting,
Yeah.
but I have a would you rather question here.
Yeah.
Now, you say you're 60, 64, right?
Yes, sir.
Take it back to when you're 40, because I want to see something how you're going to answer this question. I've heard many things over my years in asking this question, but take it back if you're 40 years old. Would you have rather visit your younger self and give them advice for the future? Or at the time, would you rather visit your older self and give them advice for what was going on at that moment?
Uh, Visit my younger self. Is it, yeah, go back and visit my 40-year-old, right? Yeah, 40-year-old self. That's
No,
what.
so your younger self, as in
Oh,
the teen or the
oh,
or preteen years. So
oh,
picture you were 40. Would you
oh,
rather go back to the teen and give them advice or
yes.
earlier years or your older self?
No, no, no. Go back and give my teen advice. Yes.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
And let me know why.
The advice I would give my teen is, whoa, is wow. This is, well, this is the answer that's meant to be because when you feel this is loving yourself is the most important thing that you need to really focus on. Loving yourself is number one, and just remember to love yourself because when you love yourself, I mean, not in an arrogant way, in an egotistical way, but taking care of yourself. And because I wanted to give back and I wanted to do things, and I didn't get back into that of wanting to help others until I started teaching martial arts.
Mm,
But then knowing what I know now to be able to talk to that because when I didn't like myself and when I knew I did certain things, I was working for a drug dealer and a bookie as I was coming up into the ranks.
mm,
And I did some stupid stuff that I'm not proud of. Knowing what I know now, I didn't like myself. And
mm,
that's why I drank. That's why I did drugs. When I was training for a fight, I was religiously training. But
mhm.
when it was a fight time, because everyone wanted to be my pal, hey, the Golden Boy, we're going out tonight. It's all on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, love. I would tell my younger self to just know that loving yourself is the most important thing. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give love to others unless you have love for yourself. You can't love anyone else unless you love yourself. You can't truly do that. And when I met my wife, before that, I was out bar hopping, I'm like, oh man, ooh, she's hot. Looking for love. I stepped back and went, man, I wasn't training. This was like in maybe the not, I was in acting then, and I went, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? Kind of going backwards to the old days. And then when I started back in the gym and I was training and I got to myself and got into meditation. Woo, everything started to change. And then boom, I meet my wife and I meet her in one place. It was like, eh. And then I meet her in another place. I went, okay, weird. Okay, two times when we got the same connections. But anyway, it worked out. When you dive in and you take care of yourself and practice self-care, you create a vibrational energy, man. And then once you're grateful for it, it emits this energy and you attract like energies attract. You attract what you desire, you attract the right things in your life. And then you can't go wrong with love, especially loving yourself, taking care of yourself. And then it's so much easier to give back. I love helping other people. I got these little cards, these little motivational cards I give out all the time to waiters and waitresses. I'm like, here you go. I said, peel it over, you get a motivation. And it just lightens up their day. And it just makes me happy. But in the days of me just drinking and partying and just hating myself, none of that would ever happen. I never, because I'm like too selfish.
Mhm.
But yeah, I go back and tell my younger self, don't forget to love yourself and just work on you. Look at your life as the greatest project that you will ever work on. And just, oh man, you do that. That's what I tell these kids. I'm like, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the younger version of me. So I tell them, I'm like, guys, yeah, it's crazy, man. Crazy.
Joe, thanks for
Uh,
sharing that because I heard that on another podcast I did about that love. So now, yeah, so I just want to finish that. Yeah, I heard
yeah.
that from someone else about loving yourself, but this leads in now to the question that I ask after that. So whether my guest chose their younger or older self,
Yeah.
these four questions are about your younger self.
Okay.
What
Okay.
would you tell your younger self about money?
Learn about it. Learn about it. Learn about it. Don't take it for granted. And it's not the end, it's not, don't put so much that I want money. Because the kids I work with now, they're like, I said, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? I'd make a lot of money. I'm like, be more specific, dude. Really? Okay. So yeah, it's not the most important thing. It is a tool. Look at it as a tool, but learn as much as you can about it. Yeah.
Perfect. What would you tell your younger self about family?
Family. Say I love you often. Yeah. And when there are situations, turmoil, just remember love. Yeah. I got some kids that I work with, and they had some issues going on with the mom and dad. And then I said, when's the last time you said, I love you to dad? He goes, I don't remember. I said, try that, do that. He did it. Saw him a week later, and he goes, my dad and I got our relationship is like changed. So yeah, tell
Wow.
your family you love them. Don't take them for granted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. What would you tell your younger self about friends?
Friends. Tell your younger self about friends. Man, I've been screwed over too many times counting for people I thought friends. Just always be on guard. You know, don't give too much of yourself unless you know that they're a true friend. Yeah, just, yeah, yeah. Don't move too fast because, a friend is a special person, but um, when they screw you over, if you get to that point and they do it often, can really have a damaging effect on you. Yeah. So just yeah, just take it easy, Yeah, you don't need friends. I think oh yeah, no, take all that back. Become your own best friend.
Oh, right there.
That's it, man. Become your
That's
own.
it.
I'm like, what am I? Yeah, become your own best friend. And when you do that, you'll attract the right friends. Become
Mhm.
your own best friend. Communicate with yourself. Journal, meditate, visualize, work
Yeah.
on yourself. Hit the gym. Yeah, become your own best friend. There you go.
You see
And
that? You see
then
that?
you'll attract the right friends.
Yeah. Oh, you
Yeah,
see that key point there that you made?
yeah. There you go.
So the last, you see how you talked about love. You have
Yeah,
to love yourself. Everyone knows that.
yeah,
Or how are you supposed to love someone else
yeah.
and become your own best friend? That's amazing advice for young people too, right?
Yes,
So the
yes.
last one now is, what would you tell your younger self about love? So we talked about it, but is there anything else to add?
What would you tell your younger self? What would I tell my younger self about love? Wow. Don't take it for granted. And spread it as much. Wow, I'm getting emotional here.
Mm,
Spread it as much as you can. And yeah, when in doubt, express love, not anger. Yeah, just spread it as much as you can. And yeah, man, let that driving force in your light come from the heart, the love, and not the ego.
mm.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, sure. Oh, this is
yeah.
cathartic. This is
All
this is
right.
amazing.
Well, shit.
Oh, yeah, you
Hey,
didn't know this was gonna happen, eh? I'm telling you, Jerry.
where they come?
Sometimes
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
this podcast hits people sometimes digging deep. Um, you okay, right, Jerry?
Good, man. I'm good, brother. I'm good.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. That's the some call the Holy Spirit. That's that when you know everything's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful. Okay, everything's been great up to this point. Now, the last conversation, the last subject I'm going to talk about is acting. Jerry, I gotta tell you, Jerry, I'm a movie guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're talking about Bruce Lee. So Game of Death, Enter the Dragon, Big Boss, you name it. I've loved all his movies. But I'm into romance. I'm into thrillers. I'm into horrors.
Yeah.
And when I watch movies, my wife knows I just watched them over and over and over.
Nope. Same here.
So when Heat came out,
Mm,
saw it in the theater twice.
yeah.
Two of my best actors, the actors I like, De Niro and Pacino,
Yeah.
they were in The Godfather together, but not in the same scene.
Right.
But in Heat, all of us De Niro and Pacino fans were enthralled, and we were like, it's like amazing to see these two actors together.
Yeah.
So I'm watching Pacino's side with all the police, all the cops, the sad part is a lot of these actors have passed away.
Mm.
When I'm just looking at it, I'm like, oh, Val Kilmer. I'm like, oh, this guy passed away too. I'm like, oh
Tom
my God.
Sizemore too.
Tom
Yeah.
Sizemore. And I'm like, holy. But when I was watching the police, I'm gonna say, I seen you in the background as one of the police officers.
Yeah.
Didn't know it at the time, but
Uh,
I still remember your lines. So I had to watch it back the other day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Jerry's gonna be on my podcast, and that was him all this time. But
oh,
before we get into Heat though,
yeah.
'cause I want to know how it was working with them. Your first movie, how did you get into acting? So you stopped fighting. I remember you saying you said
Yeah.
not that's enough for the fighting, and you how did it happen?
When I signed with Jim Abernathy, a promoter in Atlanta, it was hard getting a shot at the World Championship, and then he said, "You know what? Sign with me." He says, "I'm going to get you a shot at the World Championship, then I'm taking you to Hollywood." So I said, "Okay." Boom, signed with him, got the World Championship, and then he threw all of his money away on drugs, and he was a multimillionaire. Literally wasted it all away.
Wow.
Suddenly, everything stopped, and then after everything was said and done, I w went to California. Within probably 2 weeks, I got an A. I went to start teaching at one of Chuck Norris's studio in Studio City, California, and there just happened to be a manager in there. And he's like, "Oh, hey, great class." He said, "Hey, so what'd you move here for?" I said, "I moved here to become an actor." He goes, "Well, I'm a manager. I'm kind of looking for new actors." I went, "Oh, well, I'm an actor looking for a manager, man." So we signed. He sent me on my first two auditions ever. Never been
Mhm.
in an acting class. And yeah, he's never been in an acting class, never been on set, never experienced any of that. And I booked two lead roles. The first one I booked was Breathing Fire, and I say the first one I did was Jet Li in the Masters. That's the
Yep.
first time I was on set. So Jet Li, the Masters, that was my first one on set. Oh no, that was the first one I booked, and Breathing Fire was the first one on set.
Mhm.
So I booked Masters, and then I booked Breathing Fire all in the same week, two lead roles. And I'm thinking, my manager's like, he says, "Jerry, this shit doesn't happen." He goes, "You just booked two lead roles in the same week." And I went, "What's next?" He's like,
Yeah.
dude, it was crazy. I was on set. I was working on I'd go to Breathing Fire, work 12 hours, and then I boom, right after I'd wrap that, I'd go to the Master, work 12 hours. Right after I wrap that, I go back to Breathing Fire, 12 hours. I was I did that three times. My manager said, he calls the production company, he says, "You guys can't keep doing this." He says, "You're going to kill him." He goes, "You agreed to both want him and have him and work it out. So you got to work it out." And that stopped, which is great.
Mhm.
But dude, it was freaky. I just, I was in a whole new
Yeah.
territory that I've never been to before, and it was scary. It was really freaky, and being around Jet Li and Bolo Young and Jonathan Key Kwan, who is now he's the kid's won an Oscar. He played my adopted son in Breathing Fire, but it was crazy, man, and it was grueling. A
Mhm.
lot of hours and a lot of fight scenes.
So now I wanna, because I had that here. You got the Masters, Breathing Fire. I have a list of your movies here. The
Yeah.
Package, Full Contact, but fighting Jet Li. So after your training and your championship and all the experiences you have, now you're on set. How did that feel? Because you heard of Jet Li at the time, right? So
Yep, yep.
how was that being on set with an amazing fighter like that?
It was scary, man, because I just, the funny thing was he didn't speak English and I didn't speak Chinese. So there were little side bets going around with the crew going, "Hey, Jerry, we're having some bets here, man, that you can take Jet Li." He says, I got a money on you." I'm like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Really? Seriously?" So Jet and I, we didn't really communicate because we didn't speak each other's language.
Mhm.
So it was a little nerve-wracking, but there were a couple times we were doing the fight scenes and, he'd hit me, boom, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that was like a real hit. Oh, okay, fine." Boom, he'd hit me again, and I'm like, "Okay, this is not going to keep happening." So I tag him back, boom, and I'm like, "Okay," and we didn't say, we just look at each other like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Dude, you're gonna hit me, I'm gonna hit you back,"
Yeah.
But then we stopped and we respected each other. It was great. It was working with Chewy Hark, the director was phenomenal. and he was so cool. I said, I'm a Taekwondo guy. I've never done Kung Fu. He goes, make it up. He goes, just make up your own style. And I'm like, ooh. And I did this with my buddies and stuff, playing around like we knew what we were doing. And
Yeah.
I've seen Bruce Lee movies. I'm like, I know what to do.
Yeah.
So, but it was just I made up my own style, which is really cool. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, Jeff, it was great. I just wish we would have been able to communicate. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll do another movie in the future, and I'll go. Remember? He says, "I remember you. You hit me. No, you hit me."
Yeah. Oh, you
Yeah,
know what's cool about that? Because when I was putting some teasers together and I seen the scene with
yeah,
Jet Li, and I'm like,
yeah,
because this is another thing, you mentioned Bolo Young.
yeah,
That's the big dude, right? So,
yeah.
and he was
Shining
in,
or Enter the Dragon. Yeah,
yeah, with Bruce Lee. So when I'm younger, because you're a little bit older than me,
yeah.
they used to have Kung Fu on TV on Saturdays or Sundays.
David
And
Carradine, right?
yeah, oh yeah, you
Yeah,
got
yeah,
the Carradine too.
yeah.
But you don't. I never
Oh,
heard of
Kung
Jet
Fu
Li.
movies.
Yeah,
Kung
the Kung
Fu.
Fu movies.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, but Carradine, he's another one.
Yeah.
Um,
No.
I didn't know Jet Li until it's because I didn't follow Kung Fu like that. You
Yeah.
know when I saw Jet Li first
Right.
in Mel Gibson. What's that?
Oh, not Romeo Must Die. Was it? No, that
No,
wasn't.
I seen him in Romeo Side, but I think I see whatever came first.
Yeah,
But
I know.
when he was in, what are those movies called?
I forgot the
Mel
Mel
Gibson.
Gibson. The Mel Gibson movies, right?
Yeah, look, see, this is the old age kicking in, right? I'm like, I can't even remember the movie's name right now.
Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapons, man.
Boom. There you
But thanks, man.
go.
So Lethal Weapon 4, the
Okay.
way
Yeah.
they portrayed Jet Li,
Yeah.
it's like, holy, who is this guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've never seen
Yeah.
fighting the way they coordinated some of those scenes with him, right? But
Yeah.
when I roll back now and I seen you with him, I'm like, oh my God, Jerry was with Jet Li too.
Yeah.
This is
But,
crazy.
but you know what the funny thing was? I didn't know anything about Jet Li until I got on set. And then
Yeah.
everybody's telling me about him. And then I'm going, wow. Yeah, he's like five-time Wing Chun champion in China. And he's a legend in China. Yeah.
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
was like, so I just wish he was nicer.
Yeah.
We couldn't communicate. That was the problem. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
working with that was crazy.
when it comes to these movies where they have martial arts in it, tell me how you feel about because you're doing your own. There's no stunt, man. You're doing
Oh,
it. How is
well,
the training for that, and how do you prepare for those scenes?
it was it was a lot,
Yeah.
especially at being never being on set. But because I've done so much martial arts, and it was just like we would get on set the day of and okay, here's the fight scene. It was really like 50 60 moves, and it was fighting this guy and that guy, and it was like a dance. And what they told me, they said, listen, when you do this, think of it like one of the stunt coordinators, he said, think of it like a dance. And I
Mm.
went, okay, I love the dance, I get it. And then it made it so much easier. It was like ching 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 bah, it was like
Yeah.
a dance. And that made it so much easier. But I mean, the Masters was, God, there must have been 14, 15 fight scenes in the movie. And these were long fight scenes, especially the finale fight scene. It was
Yes.
grueling, man. It was grueling. It was a lot. It was a lot for me because, I've never experienced that. And I was always, asking the directors, I'm like, how was it? Anything else? You good? You good? And I was insecure going, you need anything else? He's like, no, no, you're good. Great, Jerry. Good, good. Shut the fuck up. You're good. Like, just sit down, son. You're good. Damn good, bro. It's like, okay, okay, man. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm good. He said, it was grueling, man. It was grueling. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of,
Yeah.
yeah, it was rough, but yeah,
And
but
so the last question I have with the fight scenes, you know how in movies, because I did a little filming myself, just fun stuff, but I've seen how it's done, filming movies or TV shows. A lot of the times you got to shoot more than one scene and then you take what's best, you clip it together, whatever you have to do. I can't imagine how many times you had to do certain scenes because they wouldn't use the one take, right? You would have to do
yeah,
different.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, we did Jet Night. No, it was Yenhua. Yenhua.
Mhm,
Yenhua was oh, what a legend. He played Tak, which was our master, my master and Jet Li's master
mhm,
in the Masters. And we did a fight scene. It took about 4 weeks. Did this big fight scene in this herbalist shop, and everything was broken and just it was crazy.
mhm.
Boom. The Chewy, the director, comes back in the town because he had to go to town. We did the fight scene. Comes back and he goes, "No, I don't like it. No, we had to redo everything and redo the whole fight scene." Yeah, they'll. I've been on sets where we've done so many different things and they end up not even using it in the final. The
Oh,
final,
yeah,
which is really just, it's like seriously, did all that work and it just you had to been went down the toilet. Yeah, but
oh man,
cutting for man.
yeah,
Yeah.
the cutting floor. Yep, yeah,
Yeah, a lot of stuff does not make it. Some of the good stuff that you're thinking, wow, that was really good. Yeah,
yeah,
it doesn't make it. That's just the nature of the beast, though. Yeah,
yeah.
crazy.
So now we're gonna get into heat, but tell me something. When you were in your prime fighting, so your name was out there, right? And then you started acting. Who was the first like movie star that you met where you're like, I can't believe I actually met this person, or even
Yeah.
someone knew you, like, oh, you're golden boy. You know what I mean? Like, who did you meet at that time where you're like, you're face to face with them? Do you
Yeah,
remember?
yeah, a lot of the because of my background in fighting and being on ESPN, a lot of people, when I get on set, they knew who I was. They're like, "Hey, man, Golden Boy, I used to watch your fights all the time and stuff." But uh, Eric Roberts was
Yeah,
one of my favorites.
yeah,
Oh man, Jesse Johnson directed a film called The Butcher, and Eric Roberts was one of my favorites to work with because he was just so cool and nice and just a really good guy, caring. He's like, always, so you're good, man. Everything good? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, thanks, Eric. Appreciate it, brother. He always looked out for the other people and he was just a nice, a really good-hearted human being.
yeah.
Uh, Tom Cruise was amazing. Whoa. Tom Cruise, all the Scientology shit, okay, to each his own.
Hmm.
But man, he was, I just wish I would have got some selfies with him, some pictures. It was Tom and I, we did Mission Impossible 3. We did a fight scene for 2 weeks, and it
Hmm.
was just him and I working together every day for 2 weeks.
Hmm.
And he was just the coolest guy. He
Yeah,
was, yeah, that's one where I went, wow, I'm with Tom Cruise, man. Guy, because that was one of my, that was probably my third stunt gig and all the stuntmen were lined up. It was a big line of stuntmen, and J.J. Abrams was walking down the aisle with Vic Armstrong, the stunt coordinator, and he's looking at, and he keeps looking at me, and he's looking down, looking at me, and he goes, "Boom, you!" And he pulls me, and I was like, "Oh," and the stunt coordinator, or Vic Armstrong goes, "You're in trouble now."
yeah,
And then he comes up and he boom introduces me to Tom Cruise, and we just coordinated a fight. They coordinated a fight scene for us. That was great, man. Of course,
yeah,
Al Pacino, De Niro, that was incredible. I kept pinching myself on that one, especially when we're, on set and on Al's birthday. It's just him and I on the set in our chairs, just sitting, hanging, talking. I'm like, "Hey, Al, my mom and dad said happy birthday." He goes, "Everyone knows it's my birthday. Everyone knows it's my birthday. You tell them thank you." Yes.
Wait, okay. So now we're on that. Thanks for sharing the Tom Cruise. I
Yeah.
couldn't find a picture. I heard about Mission Impossible 3,
Oh man.
but I couldn't find a picture with you and Tom together. I'm like, I gotta
Yeah.
get it somewhere. It has to be somewhere. There has to
Yeah.
be something.
Yeah. But
But
yeah,
anyway.
he was one of the that was amazing working with him. He was just a great guy. He is a great guy. And that's
Mhm.
why he is who he is. Yeah.
Hey, one thing, Jerry, though,
Yeah.
Bruce Lee passed in the 80s, right? In the 80s.
Uh,
80. I forgot what.
no, was it 80 or 70? I thought
Was it
74.
was it the seven?
I,
Oh, it
I,
was that long. It was
yeah, I think it was 74. I
for some
think.
reason I thought he was still alive. I was born in 73. I thought he
Okay.
was still alive for some
Yeah,
reason.
I think it was 73 or 74 because that's roughly 73, I think. 72 or 73 is when I saw Chinese Connection, and then he dies like a year later
Oh,
after
okay.
that, or he just passed. Yeah, but it
Yeah.
was 72, 73, 74, one of
I
those years.
I think my question in that respect is how did that make you feel? Because
Oh,
I'm a guy
yeah,
who gets impacted by when people pass. I'm like, oh fuck. It just hits you, right? Like it
yeah,
hits me hard for some reason. So
yeah.
knowing that he inspired you, what did his passing mean to you?
It was a little bit devastating. I didn't know him, but he inspired me like nobody's business.
Yeah.
That it Yeah, I reflected on that quite a bit. And yeah, that was pretty crazy. And then that's when I went, I'm gonna learn more about this guy. That's when I went out and bought the magazines and the books on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
yeah, just dived in. And it's funny about a month ago, I was out with a couple of friends of mine, and this guy I just met, John Barbizon, super cool guy. He's a producer. He just produced the documentary that's on Crave called "I Am Bruce Lee." I
Okay.
went, I said, "What?" I said, "Dude, you produced that?" He goes,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I didn't see that documentary. I got on Crave and I checked it out.
Yeah.
Wow." He said Linda Lee came up to him afterwards and said, "Bruce would have loved to have been portrayed like this. You did a wonderful job." Yeah, and I
Gosh.
went, "Dude, you couldn't ask Linda Lee coming up and praising it like that. You couldn't ask for anything more."
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah, Bruce Lee was, man. It's crazy how, and he's affected so many people. I
Mhm.
mean, so many people, inspired so many people. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what they say. A legacy is your legacy isn't what you did.
Mhm.
It's it's what you ignited in people.
Mm.
Not what you did, it's what you ignited in people, what you did to people, how you affected people. That's your legacy.
Yeah.
That's Bruce Lee's world legacy. I mean, he did a lot, and but wow, how he affected and how he inspired people.
Mhm.
Oh, we need
Yeah.
more Bruce Lees in the world.
Exactly. Exactly. I remember I used to watch every documentary on Bruce and how he
Yeah.
was so conditioned and
Oh,
oh my
he was
God.
dedicated like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when I talk to the kids and I tell my story and then I talk about Bruce Lee and I'm like, listen, his philosophy, you don't do martial arts to learn how to be a badass. You learn how to do martial arts to become the best version of yourself. And when you do that, man, that's everything just falls into place. When you're
Yeah.
the best you, everything falls into place. It's like, yes. Yeah, because I know there are times when I got off track and I got off kilter and things just weren't right. I'm like, what's going on? Because I got off track.
Yeah.
I got back to me. I got back to myself. I got back to working on me and get
Yeah.
back to giving back and just then it's a flow, man, and everything's flowing together.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Bruce Lee was, I got him right there. I got a picture of him right there.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, and I got the little Bruce Lee action figure there.
oh my. Oh
Yeah.
man, if you had a shirt, Jerry, you should have wore it on the podcast.
Oh man. Oh, yeah.
Okay, last question before we get into the final question.
Yes, sir.
Heat.
Yeah.
So, how did you get that role? Like,
Well,
how did this come about? Let me
uh,
know.
you know what? There's a lesson here for everyone that when you ask for things, I had visualized working with De Niro and Pacino, and both of them not in the same movie. I was like,
Wow.
whoa, hey, I got to. And then I put them on my vision board, and I put the energy out, and just. But here's the weird thing: about a year later, maybe about a year later, I was at the gym. And a buddy of mine says, hey, they're casting for this movie Heat with De Niro Pacino, Michael Mann movie. And I'm like, oh, wow. He goes, you ought to tell your agent you're with Gersh. I was with Gersh Agency, which is a good, big agency. And I just gotten with Gersh. He says, yeah, call your agent, man. Have him, work on getting you in. And I said, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, I'm with the Gersh Agency. I was still kind of new as an actor. Not really. I've done about maybe 9 films, but still did nothing in the caliber of, A-list films like Heat. And then, I'm like, okay, yeah, I didn't. Next day, I see the guy, my buddy Mike, and he goes, so did you call your agent? And I'm like, no. He goes, well, here's the casting director's number, Bonnie Timmerman. You should call down there, man, and get in there. And I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking, you don't call casting directors. You definitely don't call casting directors now and say, hey, listen, can I get in and have an audition? I threw the number away.
Oh,
I'm like, okay. A day or two later, this all happened in a span of a week. Another day or two later, a buddy of mine comes in. This guy, he's an actor, really hasn't done anything, and he's like, "Hey, man, I just auditioned for Heat with Al Pacino and De Niro," and I'm like, and it was the universe just throwing it at me, and I'm just pushing it away. And
Mhm.
I went, "Seriously?" He goes, "Yeah, man, for one of the cops." I'm like, "Oh, wow." And I'm like, "Oh, did I just screw that up?" And then another day or two passes by, and I see my buddy, and I'm like, "Dude, Mike, give me the number. Give me the number of the casting." So I take the number, I go home, I call, I says, "My name is Jerry Trimble. I'm with Gersh Agency. I understand you're casting for the movie Heat, and I'd like to, submit my resume." She says, "Who are you with?" And I said, "I'm with Gersh." She goes, "Oh, okay." She goes, "You know what? Send us, fax us in your headshot resume." I faxed in my headshot resume. A couple days later, I get a call, boom, from my agent saying, "You've got an audition for Heat." And I'm like, "What?" So they obviously called my agent. I'm freaking out, going, "Wow, okay, this is cool." I go into the audition room and I auditioned, and it was I read for it was Michael T. Williamson. It was his role that I read for. It wasn't for his, but that was the dialogue that I read for. So I read for it. I read it. Bonnie goes, "Okay, excuse me, could you wait a second?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She leaves the office, comes back about a couple minutes later, comes back and says, "Would you come with me, please?" And I said, "Oh, okay." So we go out. She takes me all the way down Warner Brothers long hall. I go into this huge, massive office with wooden bookshelves everywhere. And I sit down. She goes, "Have a seat right there, and he'll be with you in a minute." And I'm like, "Okay, thank you." And I'm like, "Who will be with me in a minute?" I'm like, and I'm in there, and then suddenly Michael Mann pops in. He goes, "Hey, Jerry Trimble, nice to meet you. My name's Michael Mann." I said, "Yes, sir. I know who you are." And we start talking. He's like, "Just tell me a little bit about yourself." And we start talking, and he says, "Okay, great." And we part ways. I leave, and I leave Warner Brothers, and I go home, and I'm like, "Wow, I guess that could be a good sign." So I send in some flowers to Bonnie Timmerman, and she calls me about maybe about 5, 6 days later. She says, "Jerry, hi, this Bonnie Timmerman and casting, and I just want to say that thank you so much for the flowers, very nice, and just want to tell you that you have a very nice role in in this movie Heat." And I'm like, and it was on my, the reel to reel tape deck, the old ones. I
Mm.
wish I still had that somewhere because I said I was going to keep it. And boom, I got 18 weeks out of a 22-week shoot. I was asking for something like that. The universe was throwing it at me, and I was just
Yeah.
pushing it away. And then, oh my God, I mean, that was like a major blessing. And yeah, it's just, we got to keep our ears open, got to keep our heart open, and just know that. And I'm thinking back, as time went on, I thought back and I went, "Oh my God, wonder how many opportunities I just, like, are you kidding me?" Oh man, oh God. Uh,
Wow.
uh,
Yo, thanks for sharing that. That's so memorable. I like
yeah,
that you shared that with me. And it means a lot to me because it's one of my favorite movies. And then just to know that you were in it, I seen you over and over. And now to talk to you about it is amazing.
thank you.
But the last question about it now,
Yeah,
working with Pacino, tell me a little bit about your experience. Um, but also, I know there's movie premieres, and then, you get to meet the cast and stuff. Because I've heard about some movies that are filmed where you're doing different scenes, so you're
yeah,
never face to face with certain people. So I'm like, oh, I didn't get to meet such and such person, right? But
right.
did you get to meet De Niro during the filming and Pacino, of course? And
Yeah.
how was that experience for you?
De Niro, I met De Niro. Michael Mann gave all the detectives, I think there was five of us, gave all the detectives their own personal deputy to show us how to shoot, make sure we knew how to shoot, load, and everything else. And I went on the firing range, and I'm on the firing range on one end with my deputy, and I look down and I'm like, "Is that Robert De Niro?" And my deputy goes, "Yeah, I think it is." And I went, "I'll be right back." Oh my God, let me see. I ran down to the other side, to the other end, and I pulled out my business card. Oh man, let me send my business card. it was a picture of me doing I went down and I said, "Excuse me, Mr. De Niro. First, my name is Jerry Trimble. I'm on Al's side." He goes, "Ah, you're on the enemies." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I just want to say, man, it is an absolute pleasure. You're one of my favorites. It's just going to be fun working with you." He goes, "Hey, pleasure's all mine." So I pulled out this business card that had a picture of my sidekick straight up in there because I did private lessons on the side. I
Mhm.
said, and took a couple steps away and I went, "Hey, why not, universe?" And I said, "Hey, Mr. De Niro, if you're ever interested and he was young at the time. You ever
Yeah.
interested, learn some kickboxing? This is what I do, sir." And he's like, "Whoa, that's a hell of a kick." He goes, "You know Chris Penn?" I said, "I know of him. Yeah." I said, I kind of know I met Sean. Yeah. I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh," he said, "Well, okay, if I'm ever interested, I'll let you know." So yeah, and that was my meeting De Niro, and he was just see, it was so cool. Yeah,
That's
but
crazy.
we got on set, and he was just whoa, focus, tunnel vision, man. He was,
Yeah.
yeah, he wasn't like, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, Jerry, good to see you." Yeah, he's probably going, "I'm gonna kill you, kid. Stay away from me."
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great experience. Yeah, and Val was great. I
Yeah.
got to talk to Val in our last shootout when we did the shootout. We would go down, come back, walk back, go down, run, boom, shoot, shoot, go and
Yeah.
walk all the way back. We did that like I don't know how many times. I said, "Wow, how many times do you think they're gonna just trying to make conversation with Val Kilmer?" I said, "How many times do you think they're gonna make us do it?" He goes, "Don't complain."
Yeah.
And he says, "Don't complain. Take it from somebody who knows." And that was in the time Val Kilmer was known for complaining and bitching and being hard to work with. And I was
Oh,
like, "Oh, interesting." And yeah, boom. I said, yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah, definitely. I'm grateful to be here, man." He goes, "There you go." Yeah. Super nice
wow.
guy. Super nice guy.
Yeah. Wait,
Yeah.
you got hit in that fight scene, right? You,
Yeah.
that
Well,
street.
yeah, it's funny. Ted Levine, one of the other detectives, he was supposed to die in the first draft that we had,
Yeah.
and I was supposed to be the one that got shot in the neck and got killed,
Yeah.
but they changed it around. Like like a couple days later, it's like new rewrites, and I went, "Ooh, oh my God, I don't die. I live now."
Yeah.
Oh, and I became really good friends with Wes Studi. He's like, "Oh, good for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Maybe we'll make it to the sequel."
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Ted Levine got killed, and I went, "Oh shoot, oh man, he can't be happy about that." But yeah, everybody's great. It was fun. Yeah,
Yeah. Ted Levine, he was the one that got shot in the neck, right?
yeah, yeah.
You know,
That was me first.
that
Yeah,
was you first. You know
yeah.
what's crazy?
Yeah.
I was watching see me in the movies again, man. Silence of the Lambs.
Signs of the Lambs. There you
And
go.
he was the
Oh,
main.
Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, he was Buffalo Bill,
Buffalo
right?
Bill.
Oh
Yeah,
my God. Like,
he is a great actor.
yeah,
He's a
just don't
super
know.
cool guy. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
last thing, Pacino now. Any
Okay.
stories about Pacino that you want to share since you were on his squad?
He's always making fun and jokes and stuff. He's extremely lighthearted. He'd have something called the Big Owl, and the Big Owl is when he goes overboard.
Okay.
And oh my God, he would do at times like 40, 50 takes. He's like, "Michael, let me do another one." And Michael's like, "Yeah, hey, go ahead, Al, go ahead." He's like, "Boom, do it." He's like, and he'd do each one differently with a different kind of flair and take on it. And then
Yeah.
he'd come up to me, Michael T, and Ted. He's like. And Wes, he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna do a Big Al, guys. Brace yourself. Here we go." And then he'd go over the top, like he did instead of a woman. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that,
yeah, yeah.
but he called it a Big Al. And I went,
Okay.
"Oh man!" So the Big Al, man. I love
Oh,
Al Pacino. He was just a great guy. Well, he still is. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That was
Uh,
fun.
you
That
know
was.
what scene I liked? Um, you know what they're looking at?
What's
You
that?
know what they're looking at?
What?
When De
Oh,
Niro's
oh,
squad sets them up,
yeah.
and then they're like, huh. That seems like an
Oh,
Al Pacino moment.
yeah, that was a great shot, man. That was a great scene. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's one of my favorite scenes. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're looking at us. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're looking at us. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great. They do that. Yeah,
Well
and I
written.
in the pi- in the photographer got the perfect shot with all of us walking. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God." It was just I had to pinch myself and say there were times before we did the contracts that
Mhm.
I was going. it fell through. It fell through. And I called my agent. They're like, Jerry, no, this one might take a little time. So just, and it took months till we started.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, but no, it went through and everything was great. Yeah. 18 weeks though, man, out of 22 weeks. And the cool thing back in the day was that they
Mhm,
don't do now.
mhm,
When I signed on for the whole film,
mhm.
paid for every single week, whether I worked or not.
Oh my gosh,
That
that
was
was
that was
crazy.
like that was about this thing was like maybe 4,500 a week, close to 5 grand a week that
Mhm.
I paid whether I was working or not.
Oh
And
my God.
I said, "Oh my God, I'm getting paid not to work. This is crazy. Getting paid really well to work." Yeah, it was yeah, I'm still making residuals on Heat, which is great. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's pretty cool, man.
Okay. Oh, this has been amazing. So
Uh,
the last question is the Star Scorpio question.
okay.
But because of what you do and you inspire your kids and the youth, I ask this question periodically in some of my interviews. Do you have any words of inspiration for someone that wants to give up on their dream?
Never give up. Don't quit. If you really, really want to do it, because if you really want to do it, just keep trying new things. There's a saying that says, if at first you don't succeed, not try, try again. If at first you don't succeed, try again differently. Because if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. So if you keep trying, you got to try differently. It's like when I fought for the world championship, he wouldn't give me a shot at the world championship. He kept ducking me. He kept no, 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 and we're like, what is going on? So we came together with, and if at first you don't succeed, we got to try something different, guys. And then we came up with a plan. He had a brother in my division. Well, darn, what a coincidence! I fought him, beat his brother, and he jumps in the ring and says, "I want you." Mission accomplished. If at first you don't succeed, try again differently. Just make sure you hang out with people that have goals and dreams. There's a saying that says, show me your crowd and I will show you your future. And if you hang out with people that are negative, and if you got friends that are negative, family members that are negative, either that are, just they're just constantly negative, do one of two things. Either you can't get rid of family members, just tell them they need to stop. You don't want to be around that energy. The friends that are negative and that are taking you down the wrong path, possibly get new friends. Show me your crowd. I'll show you your future. And just look at your life as a project and say, wow, this is project me. This is my business. I am my business. I've got a dream. I've got a goal, but I've got to be right up here, in here. I got to have my body. I got to take care of my body. I got to plan it out. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And I know what my dream is. I got to learn as much as I can. Learn, and read. Read. Readers make leaders, and reading is like a treadmill for the brain. It's amazing how many kids I work with, and I'm like, who in here reads? It's like, seriously, guys? Reading is like a treadmill for the brain. I said, find something you like to read and just start slow. Read for 10 minutes, then pick it up at micro steps. And just every child we all have all these elements: courage, discipline, focus, willpower. We have all that. They're just like muscles. We need to exercise them.
Mhm,
The more we exercise them, the stronger they get. And when you quit, the haters win. When you quit, the people that doubted you, they win. When you quit, you give up on yourself. Just
mhm,
keep the faith, faith. Fully anticipate it to happen. And when you ask, you will receive if you keep asking. And if you don't know what you want to do, just ask yourself, what would I do if I knew I could not fail? And don't even try to answer it. Just look in the mirror. What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? What would make me happy? And then don't even answer it. The universe is listening. And once you really get right in your inside, and especially when you start feeling gratitude, you'll start emitting that energy, that vibrational energy that's going to attract what you want. It's a process, but man, it's got to look at it as a project. Say, okay, what do I need to work on? This is body, this is my mind, this is who I want to help, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to learn. These are the good things I did. Every night before you go to bed, think of things you're grateful for. Give thanks first thing in the morning, man. When I wake up, I'm like, thank you, God. And I'm not a religious guy, I'm a
mhm,
spiritual guy.
mhm.
I say, thank you, God. Thank you, universe. Thank you. And this is going to be an amazing day. And I meditate. boom. And then after that, I'll say a prayer, and then I get up and I go about my day and I plan it out. And, you're going to hit a lot of roadblocks, adversity, obstacles, but we're all resilient. You got to just, I am resilient. And kids, it's like I ask them, I say, you look in the mirror, what do you say to yourself? Do you ever look at yourself? They say, I don't talk to myself in the mirror. I'm like, dude, I talk to myself every day. My wife goes, oh, that's right. You're talking to yourself, honey.
Yeah.
Like, look at yourself and say you're amazing. This is gonna be an amazing day. What's your name? I heard it on a YouTube clip. What's her name? The blonde woman with glasses. She's a motivational speaker. Oh my God, she's amazing. Ah, oh my God, there we go. No, no, no.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
um, oh my God, that's crazy. But she says, every time you look in the mirror, bump fists, with yourself and tell
Yeah,
how amazing you are. We need to be reminded how great we are and how much potential that we have. Because if we don't keep reminding ourselves, man, it's gonna fizzle out and dwindle away. And just know that when you it's when you work on yourself and you really dive into yourself of who you are and work on yourself becoming the best version, doors are going to open. You're going to meet that right person. You're going to meet that right connection, that right opportunity. And just be wary, man. Take it from experience of just pushing it away.
yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that.
I
Hopefully,
appreciate it.
when people see this, they get inspired. I'm going to try and get it out there. Okay.
Yes. Wow, that's
Last
great.
question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this podcast has been amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
the
Thank you.
final real talk with Star Scorpio question, you're going to ask me to read out my right hand, Blue Jays, or
Okay.
my left hand, Raptors.
Blue Jays, right hand.
Name one challenging thing you had to overcome in life.
The one challenging thing I had to overcome in life, learning to love myself, learning to love myself on a steady basis. That was challenging. I never thought I was good enough. I never thought I was good enough. I thought I was a failure. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Learning to love myself. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
challenging for me. It was, yeah. But now yeah, it helps me to do everything I want to do in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that. You didn't even have to say anything else because everything that we touched on, it's like it came full circle in the podcast, and
Yeah.
we covered that. And now I understand. I fully understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Wow, this has been amazing. Okay, Jerry,
Oh,
last thing.
let's give back some more, right?
Yes.
Yes. Good givers
So,
make good givers make great getters.
oh, you're
Givers
hitting
make
me with
great.
gems. You're hitting me with gems, Jerry. Okay. So last thing I do on Real Talk with Star Scorpio, I donate to a charity. The four or cause. The four causes today: Juku Sports Academy, Claws, Kawartha Lakes Animal Wellness Society, the Fundraiser Warriors for little boys that raise money for sick kids and things like that, and Liam's Mission. So Liam was born with cystic fibrosis. He was actually on my podcast at 8 years old. That was
Wow.
like 2 years ago. It was amazing to have him on. So those are the four causes. And you're gonna tell me which one to pop. So the far left is one, two, three, four. What number do
Okay.
you want me to pop?
3.
Right. Episode 101 with Jerry Trimble. Star Scorpio will be donating to. Let's see. How how is this possible?
But
This is the third time I'm choosing this since I had four balloons. You can't. I don't know if you can see it. The Fundraiser Warriors, three in a row. Oh my gosh!
wow.
I got close to all four of
Oh,
these
the fundraising
kids. The
warriors.
Fundraiser Warriors.
Oh my God.
They appreciate everything I do for them. I appreciate them. We became close with their parents. And it's just what they do. I just seen them on the news one time on Global News
Yeah.
here in Toronto, and I reached out to their parents and I said I want to have them on. They were
Uh,
on. All four of them were on my podcast, and I met them in person. And ever since then, a
oh
lot of
my
times I'm donating to them.
fundraising warriors.
The
That's the name.
Fundraiser Warriors. I'll send you their. I'll
Yes,
send
please.
you their page.
Yeah, yeah, please do. Yes, definitely, man.
All right, this has been amazing, Jerry. Plug anything that you're doing now and let the people know how they can find you.
Okay, they can find me at my YouTube channel, Jerry Trimble, jerrytrimble.com. I just booked a film actually. I can't really talk about it because it's still everything's still with the contracts and everything's still in the work right now. And I met with the director, writer, producer, and he said the role. He told me the role, great script. Said the role's yours if you want it. And I went, no audition? He goes, no, it's yours, man. You're the guy. So yeah,
Wow.
I'm blessed for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cross between The Departed, Martin Scorsese's Departed meets Scream. There you go. That's all I could say. I might have
Oh,
said.
I'll be looking out for that, Jerry.
Yeah, but I'll let you know as soon as I get a title. Yeah, I got another script that I'm writing with my father-in-law, Mickey Dolenz. Well, we finished it. It's called Socrates. It's a family film. Yeah,
Mm,
it's got some good vibes in it to help people, and it's a give back thing. Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, you'll know more about that hopefully soon. Yeah,
all
yeah, and
right.
yeah, man, got a lot going on, and just for your listeners and viewers, just keep spreading the love.
Mm,
Don't go
yes.
through a day without complimenting somebody, helping somebody, smiling at somebody, and opening the door for somebody. Just, random acts of kindness, man. What you give, you get. Good
Mm,
givers, great getters, man. Yeah.
amazing. All
Yeah.
right. Oh, that's amazing. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing all this. This is Real Talk with Star Scorpio, Jerry Trimble, episode 101, and we out.
Love you, brother.